Welcome back to the channel, USA Coins HD, coin lovers and treasure hunters who believe that great fortune can hide within even the smallest pieces of pocket change, because today we are diving into the fascinating story of a United States of America Jefferson nickel from the year 1974. A 5-cent coin that most people have handled without any idea that certain rare examples can be worth an incredible amount of money today. Just imagine holding a coin that's been passed around in everyday transactions, tossed in jars, slid across countertops, and dropped into cash registers, only to discover that yours just might be one of the extremely valuable vintage nickels collectors are desperately searching for. That's the extraordinary magic behind the Jefferson nickel from 1974, a seemingly ordinary coin that, under the right combination of mint mark, condition, and era variety, has already written some shocking auction stories in modern numismatic history. The Jefferson Nickel series began back in 1938 as a tribute to Thomas Jefferson, one of America's founding fathers and the face of the nickel ever since. The obverse portrait was sculpted by Felix Schlag, while the reverse showcases Monticello, Jefferson's famous Virginia home. Fast forward to 1974, and the United States Mint was striking these nickels by the millions using copper-nickel alloy. Yet only a very select number were produced to a standard of sharpness and clarity so magnificent that they've survived to this day in uncirculated or near-perfect condition. To the naked eye, a 1974 Jefferson nickel may appear no different from any other well-used coin, but closer inspection reveals whether it carries a tiny D for Denver or S for San Francisco, or no mint mark at all, meaning it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. Each mint created slight die varieties and imperfections, and some of these have resulted in highly desirable mint-made errors that collectors hunt wildly today. One of the most popular and valuable varieties is the double-die Jefferson nickel, where the die that struck the design onto the coin twisted slightly and struck again, creating doubled letters in areas like the word liberty, the date 1974, or the phrase "In God We Trust" on the obverse. Doubling can also be seen in the words Monticello or 5 cents on the reverse. When found in mint state condition, this double die variation is worth far more than normal face value nickels, and serious collectors aggressively pursue them. Another eye-popping error involves off-center strikes, when the blank piece of metal was not perfectly aligned under the die. These coins show a crescent of blank space on the edge, making them instantly recognizable as minting oddities. Some Jefferson nickels from 1974 also exhibit die cracks that cut through Jefferson's cheek, collar, or across Monticello's roof, not damage from circulation, but jagged breaks that formed inside the die itself, another minting flaw that raises collectability. Yet none of these characteristics can transform the value of a 1974 Jefferson nickel without one vital factor: pristine, uncirculated condition. Most nickels have dulled over years of use, accumulating scratches, bumps, and discoloration. But the tiny group that has survived flawlessly with complete original luster, graded mint state MS66, MS67, or even higher, are where true fortune lies. Under intense magnification, top-grade coins show dazzling metallic shine, absolutely no wear on Jefferson's hair, jawline, eyebrow, or the steps in front of Monticello. Particularly desirable are coins with full steps classification, where every step leading up to Monticello is fully visible and perfectly struck, a technical sign that a coin is exceptionally well made. Full steps coins are far scarcer than ordinary specimens, especially from 1974, and they command huge prices when paired with a rare mint error or unusual die variety. Imagine stumbling upon a coin jar passed down by a relative, or buying an old roll of nickels at a garage sale, or even obtaining Jefferson nickels in your change from the grocery store, then shining a flashlight across them only to discover one exceptionally bright, sharp 1974 nickel with a tiny mint mark under the date. Your heart starts to beat faster as you notice unusual drip-like metal marks, a doubled inscription you've never seen before, or that coveted set of bold full steps. You send it to a professional grading service for authentication, only to receive it back sealed in a slab, certified as one of the finest known examples from the year. Suddenly you have a treasure worth far beyond the expectations of anyone who has ever handled a simple 5-cent piece. This is the captivating world of Jefferson nickel collecting, full of stories where everyday people find astonishing fortune in forgotten pockets of the past. So never underestimate the plain-looking 1974 Jefferson nickel. Always flip it under bright light, check for doubling, study the mint mark, and scrutinize the details of Jefferson's portrait and Monticello's staircase. The difference between a common nickel and a once-in-a-lifetime discovery can come down to microscopic details invisible without careful inspection. Collectors and investors today are aggressively hunting for the best surviving examples of 1974 nickels with mint errors and top-quality precision strikes, meaning the opportunity to uncover something worth a tremendous amount is still very real. Today we are focusing on a coin many people overlook completely, the United States of America Jefferson nickel, the humble 5-cent piece bearing the date 1985. You've probably had dozens of these nickel coins pass through your fingers without thinking twice, but what if I told you that a single one, when struck with the right mint mark, preserved in immaculate condition, and displaying a rare minting anomaly, could transform from ordinary pocket change into an exceptional collectible worth a substantial windfall? The 1985 Jefferson nickel is one of those sleepers in the world of numismatics, a common-looking coin hiding an uncommon and thrilling secret for those willing to look a little closer. The classic Jefferson nickel design created by Felix Schlag has been a staple of American coinage since 1938, featuring the proud profile of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his famous home Monticello on the reverse. Even after decades in circulation, this design remains beloved, iconic, and steeped in U.S. history. The year 1985 saw the U.S. Mint continue mass production of this 5-cent piece at different facilities: Denver, marked by the letter D, Philadelphia, no mint mark, and San Francisco, marked S. However, despite the massive number struck, only a tiny fraction remain today in perfect mint state condition, untouched by circulation's harsh wear and tear. These surviving gems, especially those with additional mint errors, have become potent collector magnets because pristine 1985 nickels are much harder to find than most people believe. Collectors often obsess over something called full steps on Jefferson nickels, a grading term referring to the sharp, uninterrupted steps visible on the front porch of Monticello. These are incredibly difficult to preserve during the hammering force of the minting process and vanish the moment a coin rubs against another in circulation. A 1985 nickel with full, bold steps is already valuable. If it also carries a powerful mint strike, no scratches, and radiant original luster, you're looking at a top-quality rarity. Then come the errors and die varieties. Some 1985 nickels display doubled lettering on phrases like Monticello or 5 cents, created when the die shifted during production. Others were struck slightly off-center, leaving a portion of the coin blank or the rim uneven, an instantly recognizable minting accident. A few even have die clashes or interior cracks that appear like raised lines running across Jefferson's cheek or the dome of Monticello, details that can turn a standard coin into a pursuit worthy of elite collectors. What truly fuels the excitement is how overlooked these coins remain. Most people have no idea that a 1985 nickel sitting in their pocket could be worth more than its face value, and in some extreme cases, more than many people's annual salaries. That's why treasure hunters still comb through old change jars, unsearched nickel rolls, garage sale finds, and inherited coin collections, hoping to spot one that glimmers brighter, sharper, and shows something unusual. If you have a magnifying glass and the patience to inspect your 1985 Jefferson nickels carefully, you may be surprised at what you discover. Take note of how clean and crisp Jefferson's profile looks. Does his hair still show fine line texture? Are his cheek and jaw undamaged? Turn the coin over. Are each of Monticello's steps fully visible and sharp? Is the mint mark bold and well-defined under high magnification? Finally, does the coin's surface glow under a bright light, revealing its original silky metallic shine, free from circulatory dullness and scratches? If so, guard it carefully and consider professional grading. Once a rare 1985 nickel earns an outstanding mint state certification from a major service like PCGS or NGC, especially one with the coveted full steps designation and a noted mint error, it instantly enters a different universe of value. Suddenly collectors compete at auctions, driving prices higher and higher to secure a spot in their premium Jefferson nickel sets. These modern-era nickels have experienced a surge in demand, particularly among a new generation of collectors realizing that not all $1,000 coins must be centuries old. The truly finest examples have become incredibly sought after, sometimes locked away in private collections, other times appearing only briefly at auctions where they cause a bidding frenzy. It's an exciting new frontier in coin collecting, and the 1985 Jefferson nickel is one of the thrilling stars. This is why you should never overlook even the plainest coins in your change. The hunt is still real, and there are fortunes waiting to be unearthed by sharp-eyed collectors willing to search. Keep checking your 1985 nickels. Look for sharp details, original luster, mint-made oddities, and those perfectly struck Monticello steps. Your next, worth only 5 cents, coin might be a hidden gem. Today we are turning back the clock to uncover the secrets of a coin that millions of Americans have handled without ever realizing its powerful potential value, the United States of America Jefferson nickel dated 1973. This 5-cent piece may look completely ordinary at first glance, with its familiar profile of President Thomas Jefferson and the stately image of Monticello on the reverse, but a small number of these nickels minted in 1973 have become incredibly hot items in the numismatic market. For collectors who know what to look for, such as the mint mark on the obverse, flawless condition, and rare errors created during minting, this humble nickel has transformed from simple pocket change into a legendary coin capable of delivering a breathtaking fortune to anyone lucky enough to identify a true gem. The Jefferson Nickels series has always been fascinating because of the wide variety of minting quirks that have occurred over the decades. By 1973, nickels were being struck at the major facilities in Denver, San Francisco, and Philadelphia. The mint marks, tiny letters like D or S, can be found just to the right of the date on the obverse. These coins were churned out in massive quantities for circulation, and the vast majority entered everyday use right away. They slid into cash drawers, parking meters, vending machines, and thousands of Americans' pockets, each one slowly losing its sharpness, original luster, and brilliant finish. That is exactly what makes finding a pristine example so thrilling. A tiny fraction were saved intentionally or accidentally in brilliant, untouched condition, and those coins are now where collectors compete aggressively, especially for varieties that show unique mint-made characteristics. Among the most coveted are 1973 nickels with mint errors such as double die obverse or double die reverse, where parts of the design appear slightly double due to the die striking the coin twice at a shifted position. Under magnification you might notice ghost-like double images in the word Liberty, the inscription "In God We Trust," on the date, or even in the steps and columns of Monticello. Another valuable type includes off-center strikes, where the coin blank was not perfectly centered inside the press and part of the design is missing, resulting in a dramatic crescent of blank metal at one edge. There are also fascinating die cracks and fill die errors which create raised lines across Jefferson's cheek or unexpected blobs near letters on the reverse. These are not damage, but valuable production varieties recorded by collectors. A 1973 nickel that combines one of these rare mint errors with top-level preservation has become a true star in auction rooms around the world. The next key factor is condition. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, and only uncirculated nickels that have survived in mint state condition, with strong strikes, full original mint shine, and zero signs of wear, can fetch premium prices. The most desirable are those certified by grading services like PCGS or NGC in grades MS 65, MS 66, MS 67, or even MS 68. These coins look as though they were just struck yesterday, with sharp details visible even in the tiny lines of Jefferson's hair and the individual steps leading up to Monticello. A 1973 nickel labeled "full steps," meaning every one of those steps is completely struck and unbroken, is incredibly scarce and considered the benchmark of superior quality. Combine a full steps designation with a dramatic double die or off-center error, and suddenly you are not just holding a well-made coin, you are holding a holy grail level rarity that collectors are willing to pay almost any amount of money to secure. Imagine sorting through an old roll of nickels your parents put away in a drawer decades ago, or opening a dusty coin jar saved during spring cleaning and spotting a bright 1973 nickel gleaming back at you. You carefully turn it under a bright light and see unbelievable sharpness in the portrait, blazing mint luster, and then notice a strange doubling across the lettering. Your heart races as you realize you might be staring at a treasure that very few people on Earth have found. You submit it to a grading service, anxiously awaiting results, and when it comes back sealed inside a plastic slab with a high mint state grade and a full steps and error designation, you suddenly discover your once ordinary-looking 5-cent coin is actually a record-setting rarity. Overnight, collectors and investors are fighting for ownership, driving the price to a place most people simply would not believe possible for a modern-era nickel. This is why so many treasure hunters never stop looking at their change, because the story of the 1973 Jefferson nickel proves that history, rarity, minting mishaps, and condition can collide to create a true masterpiece tucked inside a simple 5-cent coin. When you inspect your next handful of nickels, always flip them over, shine a light across the surface, check the mint mark, examine the date, and look for that crisp brilliance that untouched coins possess. Focus especially around Jefferson's face, the inscription, and the delicate steps of Monticello. One day, that casual glance could uncover life-changing wealth hiding in plain sight. Today we are diving into a coin many people believe is far too modern to hold any real value, the United States of America Jefferson nickel, the humble 5-cent piece dated 1990. But behind that familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson and the classic view of Monticello lies a secret that has stunned collectors. Certain rare examples of this everyday coin, when preserved in almost flawless condition and struck with unusual mint-made errors, have exploded in value to levels nobody imagined when they were first released into circulation. This episode will show you exactly why the 1990 Jefferson nickel has become a modern-day treasure hunt for coin collectors and how you might still stumble upon one worth far more than 5 cents. The Jefferson nickel was first introduced in 1938 and by 1990 had become a stable part of American currency, struck in Denver, San Francisco, and Philadelphia. You can identify the mint using the tiny letter beside the date, D for Denver, S for San Francisco, and no mint mark for Philadelphia. Millions of 1990 nickels were produced for circulation, and most were quickly spent and passed from hand to hand, gradually losing the sharpness, brilliance, and microscopic details that make a coin valuable. Only a tiny number of these coins escaped this fate by accident, sealed in coin rolls that were never opened, tucked in drawers or forgotten in old collections, and those rare survivors are where incredible value lives today. Seasoned collectors know to search every 1990 Jefferson nickel for specific mint errors, particularly doubling in the lettering, known as a double die, caused when a die imprints a design twice in different positions. Under magnification, you might spot a ghost-like second image on words like Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust, or across the numerals of the date. Equally exciting is the off-center strike, when the coin blank was misaligned in the press, creating a crescent of blank metal on one side and squeezing the design off the coin center. A 1990 nickel with a noticeable off-center strike, perfectly preserved, can jump far beyond its face value. There are also popular fill die errors that leave bumps or blobs of extra metal on Jefferson's coat or across Monticello, a result of grease or debris clogging the minting die. These imperfections are not flaws, but rather signatures of minting accidents that collectors chase fanatically when the coin is in high-grade condition. The single biggest factor determining true value is condition. Coins are graded under high magnification and bright light, with the highest scores given to those that have never seen circulation, mint state coins that retain their original bright luster, sharp edges, and no signs of contact or wear. Top-graded 1990 nickels, especially those with deep golden silvery shine across their surfaces and razor-sharp lines in Jefferson's hair, jaw, and eye, and full detailed lines across Monticello, are shockingly scarce. The legendary mark of quality that collectors swoon over is the full steps designation on the reverse. If every single step that leads up to Monticello is struck clearly and individually without smoothing, it earns full step status, and coins like this are the elite of the elite. When that full steps detail is combined with a dramatic mint error and an untouched surface, the value catapults to a level that turns heads at major auction houses. Imagine for a moment you're pouring old coins out of a jar inherited from a relative or searching through a forgotten bankroll bought back in the early 1990s. Suddenly, a nickel from 1990 shines brighter than any other, reflecting light like a miniature mirror. You lift it higher. The image of Jefferson glows with crisp detail. You flip it over, and the steps of Monticello jump out in sparkling clarity. Then you notice something unusual in the lettering on the date or maybe a curious spread on Monticello. Your pulse races as you realize you may be holding what professional graders would classify as a mint error in gem-quality mint state. You rush to send it off to PCGS or NGC. Weeks later your coin returns sealed in a plastic slab with an astonishing mint state grade and full steps designation. Suddenly, collectors from around the country are offering more money than you ever imagined possible for a simple 5-cent piece, because right now, the market for top-flight 1990 Jefferson Nickels is booming and the top example of this treasure is nearly impossible to find. This is why treasure seekers keep checking pocket change and hunting down unsearched rolls of nickels. The thrill lies not just in the possibility of making an incredible profit but in discovering something so rare that hardly anyone knew it existed. The 1990 nickel shows that you don't need to be a millionaire to start coin collecting. Sometimes you just need a careful eye, a bit of curiosity, and a little patience. Every detail matters: the mint mark, the sharpness of Jefferson's features, the steps at Monticello, the glow of the luster and the tiniest trace of minting errors. These are the clues that separate ordinary coins from life-changing treasures. Keep those magnifying glasses ready, because somewhere out there, still waiting in jars, drawers or rolls, the next great 1990 Jefferson nickel discovery could be hiding in plain sight. Today we're focusing on a coin that most people ignore but collectors are hunting down with fierce determination: the United States of America Jefferson nickel dated 1989. This 5-cent piece might seem too modern and too common to ever be worth serious money, but the truth hiding behind that classic portrait of President Thomas Jefferson might shock you. Certain rare 1989 Jefferson nickels, when they carry specific mint marks, survive in near-perfect mint condition, and display unusual mint-made errors, have become some of the most valuable modern nickels ever sold. So before you throw your next nickel into a jar or hand it over as change, make sure you know what to look for, because your coin could be far more significant than you think. With its iconic design by Felix Schlag, the 1989 Jefferson nickel features Jefferson's profile on the obverse and Monticello, his Virginia home, on the reverse. These nickels were struck at several U.S. mint facilities including Denver, marked with a D, San Francisco, marked with an S, and Philadelphia, which carries no mint mark at all. While millions were produced for regular circulation, only a small fraction were saved in pristine, untouched condition. The rest were spent, rubbed smooth in pockets, scratched in cash registers, dulled by years of contact with other coins, which is exactly why a top-quality surviving example from 1989 can command jaw-dropping prices when it is certified by professional grading services. The rarest and most desired varieties are those that combine impeccable mint state condition with very specific kinds of mint errors. Double-die nickels from 1989 are known to exist. These coins show doubled letters in inscriptions like Liberty or In God We Trust, or a strange shadow-like appearance around numbers in the date itself, caused when the die shifted slightly between strikes. There are also striking errors such as off-center strikes where the entire design appears pushed toward one edge, leaving a blank crescent on the coin. Examples with dramatic misalignment are especially prized. Fill die errors can cause parts of Monticello to appear blurry or to be missing detail, while die cracks may appear as raised lines slicing across Jefferson's cheek or the stairs of Monticello, tiny mistakes from the minting process that become valuable clues for collectors. But even the most amazing error means nothing without top-tier condition. Coin collecting is extremely condition-sensitive, and only coins that have never been used in circulation, known as mint state, have the chance at achieving legendary value. Coins graded MS-65, MS-66, and MS-67 by PCGS or NGC are highly sought, especially those designated with the full steps attribute on the Monticello side. Full steps mean each individual step leading up to Monticello is fully struck and shows clear separation, which proves the coin was perfectly struck. Very few 1989 nickels display full steps to perfection, and that's what makes them extremely uncommon. Combine a full steps masterpiece with a dramatic double die error or off-center strike and collectors may go into an absolute bidding frenzy. Imagine discovering a bright 1989 nickel in a roll you picked up from the bank, or pulling one out of your piggy bank only to glance under the light and notice its surfaces shine with shocking brilliance. You turn the coin slowly and realize that Jefferson's hair, eyebrow, and jaw are as crisp as though the coin were brand new. On the reverse, the steps of Monticello are razor-sharp and complete. Then, under a magnifying glass, you spot a strange doubling in the lettering that suggests this might not be just any nickel, but one of the elusive error varieties. Your pulse picks up as you send the coin off for grading. When it returns in a plastic holder with a high mint state grade, the coveted full steps designation, and a noted double die error, the true magnitude of what you found becomes clear. What seemed like ordinary pocket change is actually an elite collectible worth more than most people could ever imagine. This is the real excitement of numismatics: chance, curiosity, and history blending together to turn a common coin into a treasure. The 1989 Jefferson nickel reminds us why we never stop looking at dates, mint marks, lettering, luster, and strike quality. Whether you're searching rolls from the bank, inherited coin jars, or your everyday change, there is always a chance you could uncover something extraordinary that others have simply overlooked. Keep your magnifying glass ready, because your next lucky find might already be in your hand, waiting for that one careful glance. And now comes the moment that has stunned even seasoned experts: a spectacular uncirculated 1989 Jefferson nickel with sharp full steps and an extraordinary double die mint error has brought an incredible auction sale price of $88,000.